Good morning, Year 6. Welcome back to another week where we're going to be continuing to look at different mathematical areas over this week to revise from our tests. Now then, one of the things that did come up was about converting between percentages and fractions and decimals, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So, our first one is converting from decimals to fractions, okay? Because remember, a decimal number, in this case, it's not a whole. Fractions are part of, so they're not whole numbers. Okay, so 0.5, what is 0.5 as a fraction? Well, as a fraction, 0.5 is 1 over 2. Okay, so half. That's definitely something that you should know. Now then, 0.7, what is that as a fraction? Well, a way to think about this is if you think you've got units, and then you've got your tenths, okay, here, you have got 7 tenths. That is 7 over 10. 7 tenths. Okay. It's the same as the first one here. You've got your units and your tenths. Okay. You've got 5 tenths. Okay. I have just simplified it down to 1/2 because 0.5 is a half. Okay. So it's 5 tenths. So this is another way to look at this. When you're converting from decimals to fractions, you can think about your tenths and your hundredths. So 0.3. I've just got 0 units. How many tenths do I have? I've got 3 tenths. 3 over 10. Okay. Now, remember, the equivalent fraction could be 30 over 100, 300 over 1,000, and so on. But the easiest way to do this one is to use your place value to help you. And we can do that with here. Okay. So I've got my units, my tenths, and my hundredths. Well, I've got 35, okay, I've got 35 hundredths, okay, 35 hundredths. Next question, what would that be? 0.08. Again, tenths, hundredths. How many? I've got no tenths, but I do have 8 hundredths. Just 8 over 100. 0.31. Again, think tenths and hundredths. Well, I've got 31 hundredths. Okay, so I've got 31 over 100. And converting decimals to fractions is as straightforward as that. Now, decimals to percentages. Very, very similar. Okay. Remember, percent means part of 100. So 35, we've just worked out, is 35 over 100. Well, that is equal to 35%. Okay. Again, 0.08 is 8 hundredths. How many do I have out of 100? I have got 8. So I've got 8%. Effectively, you're timesing your decimal place by 100. Okay. 0.31. How many hundredths do I have? I have 31 hundredths. So that's 31%. Okay. Again, can you see the relationships between decimals, percentages, and fractions? Now then, percentages to fractions. Well, again, percent means out of 100. So effectively, if I work out every percentage I had out of 100, I can put that straight in, out of 100, out of 100. So 42% is 42 over 100. 56%, 56 over 100. 20%, 20 over 100. Percent means out of 100. Now, I can simplify these down. 42 over 100 would go to 21 over 50. Okay, the equivalent fraction there if it needs to be simplified. 56% is 56 over 100. Well, again, that could simplify down to 28 over 50. Ah, they're both still even numbers. Divide by 2 again. That'll give me 14 over 25. Okay, as the lowest fraction here, simplified version. 20 over 100 is the same as 10 over 50, which is the same as 5 over 25, and they're both divisible by 5, which will give me 1 over 5, 1/5. Okay, so 1/5 is the same as 20%, but so is 5 25ths, and as is 10 50ths, and 20 over 100, okay, is all 20%. So the easiest way to find a percentage, okay, to make that into a fraction, is to put your percentage over 100. let's have a look at percentages to decimals. Well, again, percentages to decimals. Well, if you know that 42% is 42 over 100, okay, as a fraction, because remember it means part of 100, you've got 42 parts of 100, so that's 0.42. So effectively you're dividing by 100 for each one. 56%, well, divide that by 100, because remember it'd be 56 over 100. Okay, divide that by 100 is 0.56. 20%, 0.20 or 0.2. Okay. So really understanding that percentages is part of 100 and understanding fractions and decimals and then how they all link is really, really useful. Now, fractions to decimals. Fractions to decimals, these ones are very similar. So if you've got 42 over 100, that means you've got 42 parts of 100, so 42 divided by 100, which is going to be 0.42. 36 over 100 is equal to 0.36. 97 over 100, 0.97. I'm dividing by 100. I take my numerator and I divide it by the denominator. Now that is especially useful for these ones here, fractions to decimals. Trying to get my fraction into a decimal. What would you have to do here? I'm going to change back to my yellow colour. Well, you've got 1 as a numerator and 9 as a denominator. So think back to here. I do 42 divided by 100. I do my numerator divided by my denominator. So it's the same here. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 9. Now, I'm going to go straight in and put in my decimal places because I know I'm definitely going to need them. You will not need to really go past 3 decimal places with these ones, okay? So 1 divided by 9 is going to be 0 and carry on. So 10 divided by 9 is 1, remainder 1. 10 divided by 9 is 1, remainder 1. You can see the pattern that's going to go on here, okay? So 1/9 is equal to 0.111. Okay, it's 1 recurring. It's going to keep going on and following that pattern, okay, for a long, long time, forever. So when you're finding out decimals from fractions, you will just need to divide the numerator, okay, divide that by the denominator. So 4/7. So I'm going to have 4 divided by 7. Put in my decimal places first, okay, because I'm going to need them. And I know I'm always going to start with a 0. It's always going to start with that 0 because, of course, it is a fraction and therefore it is part of a number. So it's going to be less than 1. So the 4 goes across there and 40 divided by 7. Well, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. So that's 5. Remainder 5. 35 to 40. I've now got 50 divided by 7. Well, 35 is 5, 42 is 6. 49, okay, it's going to be 7, remainder 1. And then here, 10 divided by 7 is 3, remainder 3. But I don't need to keep going. I'm going to stop at 3 decimal places. And I know that 4/7 as a decimal place, as a decimal number, is 0.573. Okay, so this is really useful. If you ever need to find a decimal from a fraction, okay, you can just divide the numerator by the denominator. Now let's have a look at those fractions to percentages. It's the same thing. Over 100, 42 over 100, well, that's 42%. Just working the inverse of what I was doing earlier. 36 out of 100, well, again, percentage means part of 100. So I've got 36 parts, so it's 36%. And 97 over 100, 97%. Now again, it can get a little bit trickier with getting fractions to percentages. And I'm going to use the same logic that I applied to get to decimal numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 divided by 7. Put in my decimal places. And don't need to go any further than 3 decimal places here. So I was going to start as a 0. So I'm going to get to the decimal place first. Okay, so 30 divided by 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, that is 4. Remainder 2. That is 2. Remainder 6. And then that one there, 60 divided by 7. is going to be 8. And there will be a remainder, of course, but I don't need to go any further. So it's 0.428. So how do I get that to a percentage? Well, I use my knowledge of fractions, to decimal numbers, to percentages. So 0.428, well, if I times that by 100, remember, because it's part of 100, will give me 42.8%. 4/9, same thing here. I am going to do 4 divided by 9. Decimal places in. No more than 3 is needed. Can't be done straight away. We know that that is going to be 9, 18, 27, 36. So it's 4, remainder 4. 4, remainder 4. 4, remainder 4. It's going to keep going. It's obviously, I can see my pattern here now. Again, I can then change that decimal number now into a percentage. So I times it by 100. So 0.444 times 100 is 44.4%. Okay. Now, you should know these key relationships between decimals and fractions and percentages. So you really, really should remember off the top of your head, a half is equal to 0.5 and 50%. 1/1 is equal to 1, or 2/2, or 3/3, or 4/4 is all equal to 1, and that's 100%. A third, again, is 0.33, or 33%. And you should also then be able to work out 2/3. Well, it's double it, so it's 0.66, or 66%. A quarter, and you should also know what 2 quarters and 3 quarters are. Tenths, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths. And again, fifths as well. Okay, 1/5 is 0.2, which is 20%. So 2/5 would be 0.4, 3/5, 0.6, and so on. And here is, to finish off, a little table for you to fill in. So decimal number here, 0.75. As a percentage is going to be, of course, 75%. As a fraction would be 75/100. But a better one would be 3/4. 30% as a fraction, well, that'd be 30/100, or even better, 3/10. 3/10 is a decimal, 0.3. I've got 3/10. And 4/5. Again, we've just mentioned this one here. Now, 4/5, if you know that 1/5 is 0.2, 4/5 is going to be 0.8. Okay then. Then that will be 80%. Right? And you can see that all of these link. Now then, you will need to complete your worksheets that have been sent to your parents. You need to send your work to me as soon as it's finished, preferably before 10:30, but definitely before 3 o'clock. So make sure that you've watched this video closely. If you need to go back and watch it again, please do so. We'll be talking more about this in our lessons this morning. But if you need any other help, please send me a message and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Year 6, I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a wonderful session. And remember, if you need any help, please just ask. Thank you very much.